Our next guest has performed with Cirque Du Soleil, and you've probably heard her voice on singles for the band Dubmatique and La Gamique, locally here in Montreal.
Now based in LA, you might recognize her face from playing the main stages with her neo-ragtime group, Parlor Social, while she continues to work on her epic solo project that she's excited to share with the world.
You won't want to miss this. Welcome to Basebin TV.
Nowadays, you know it's all about the money. People drip and they start to act funny. Oh, this madness goes on and on and on.
Caio da noite, fecha os olhos no sol. Tem vento no batom que bate forte o coração. Nasce canto da noite, teu sossego no sol. Sol, 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 sol.
If you feel good, let me hear you say. If you're feeling good, let me hear you say. If it's all good, let me hear you say. But if it feels good, let me hear you say.
Here we are at Basebin TV, and we have with us all the way from LA, but Montreal bred,
Yes.
Dessy Di Lauro.
Hello. Hey, everyone.
We can't hear the applause. It's weird.
I know,
They are
where's
applauding.
everybody? Where are
They
they?
are applauding. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for humoring us with our little show.
I love it.
Our little show.
I love the setup. It's so...
Yeah, because we just had your partner in crime, Ricky Pajot,
Yes.
was in here.
Yes.
And we couldn't help ourselves but also take the opportunity while you're in town to get you into the hot seat.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness.
So excited.
It would be kind of silly not to have you on the show. You were a staple here in the live music scene in Montreal.
Yes.
Let's start there. Your upbringing, family, life, was it filled with as much music as your husband Ricky's? Because he comes from like a family full of like musicians. But where did you get your inspiration from?
So I got my inspiration because my parents were avid vinyl collectors.
Oh, really?
And so because of my background being from different cultures, all this mix of Brazilian, Cuban, all this music, I grew up with all this music. So
Okay.
the vinyl collection is gone, but
No.
yes, I know.
happened?
Yeah, they just, after all these years, they were like, yeah, get rid of all this stuff. But there were like some gems and nuggets in my parents' collection. Anything from really like historical 1920s, Fats Waller, Duke Ellington,
Okay.
all of that stuff leading up to like, Aretha Franklin, Luther Vandross, and so on and so forth. So it was like a big vinyl collection throughout the ages and throughout the years. And they had like so many amazing, so much amazing music. They had the Cuban stuff, they had the Brazilian stuff. So it was a little bit of bossa,
Right.
a little bit of salsa, a little bit of R&B, a little bit of jazz, a little bit of swing, ragtime, like it was crazy. Their collection was unbelievable.
Was there one that stood out to you that was your favorite?
That's a great question. So there's this record that I'd always play because I had my little RCA little, record player where you put the pennies on the, thing to not let it skip.
Me nodding
Yeah.
like I understand.
It ain't gonna skip.
Like
Yeah.
these old school little record players.
Yeah.
And I'm showing my age right now, right?
Well, I remember, so I feel you.
Yeah. So this one song, and it was "Are the stars out tonight?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's cloudy or bright. So Only Have Eyes for You.
Uh-huh.
That was the record. I as a kid, I don't know why I was so fascinated with doo-wop, with these R&B groups and stuff from back in the 50s, 60s, but it was so beautiful to me. And I was fascinated by this record, and I kept spinning this record. That's the one memory that really sticks out. And then, of course, Michael Jackson,
Oh, of course.
Michael Jackson,
Yeah, it's
Thriller.
Well, that's kind of a staple.
Yeah.
That's kind of the
Yes.
Do you remember that VHS that he'd released with like all, I think it was all his music videos?
See, I don't even know that.
Yeah.
VHS?
No, I was a really big fan. It was how they kept me quiet as a kid. I called it the Michael Jackson movie. I didn't know what it was called. And they would just like put that on and just like leave me in a room
I don't
just
even remember
transfixed to the
that.
TV.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'll figure it out. I'll text you.
See, I'm going to find that.
So, music-wise,
Right.
was there any inclination to go to school in music or thinking about that, or was that an afterthought?
It's so crazy because I am so like, when it comes to learning music, it doesn't sink in for me.
It's math. Were
Ricky
you good
has
in math?
tried. I'm with
Yeah.
an amazing piano player that reads, and he's tried for years, and I'm
Right.
like, nah, dude,
Yeah.
can't do it. Yes, I was terrible in math.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And so,
Yep.
so that whole music theory, because I don't know, I just came from, singing with the choir in church. And so all of that, I was like, yeah, I'm getting my school differently and stuff, and just, absorbing all these records, mimicking like singers, mimicking, doing background vocals on everything.
Right.
You could not shut me up as a child.
Right.
My mom be screaming and the other like, shut up, it's enough. So I drove her crazy, like doing all that stuff. But yeah, just absorbing. I was a sponge, absorbing like different voices, trumpet sounds, mimicking all the instruments and stuff. So yeah.
What were your parents supportive of that? Because I know in the background they're saying "shut up," but were they actually supportive?
It took a long time because we do have like musicians in the family, and they were well aware that it was a difficult career. My mom's like, it's not an easy life, and I was like, now it's like, it's not an easy life, kids.
Mommy.
Yeah. So, she was right on all of that. It took a while. Because, I also wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to do other stuff. So there was other stuff, but music has always been at the forefront. And so I don't think they really knew that I was going to make this a full-time career thing. And so, yeah, eventually, yes, but it took a while for them to wrap their heads around the idea of like, oh, a career. Okay.
I think this is always inspiring for younger artists to know that people that are actually doing it a full time actually had like some type of part job. I worked at McDonald's. What were some of your part-time jobs before music was your full-time career?
I used to be a cashier at Pegabo, which is part of the Aldo group.
Oh, really? Okay.
So, and it was a fly shoe store.
Was-
Okay.
Did you get discounts?
I did. And my cash was always on point. So that was great.
Always balancing.
Yes, always balanced. Yeah, that was it. And then at one point I was working at Place Ville-Marie, and my dad was manager of this other high-end shoe store, François Villon, something like that.
To everybody in LA, it
yes,
sounds
yes.
sounds really
It's
exotic.
been a while. French people, please don't hate me. But yeah, it's so I started off working in shops and stuff and shoes. My dad was in the shoe business for a long time.
Right.
Shoe repairman, working in a factory out here, warehouse. Yeah.
And what did his shoes look like? Because you know the old cobbler story. He has the worst shoes.
Actually, he had like my mom and I as a child. He used to make my shoes, and I was
What?
the only kid in school with like a little heel.
No.
Like rocking a little heel. I look so cute.
cute.
Yeah, so he was rocking it. My dad was amazing. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So then you're working these part-time gigs.
Yes.
At what point do you now take yourself, to the stage? Did you do singing lessons? Did you just decide to get up on stage?
At around 16, 17, I started working with Public Enema, who became Bullfrog, which was a collective
I remember
of
Bullfrog, yeah.
Yes. So Kid Koala
Yeah.
was DJing there, Max, Joanna, there was, a group of us, Mark Robertson. Anyways, great band. The they started booking me. And so I was still working at the shoe store, and I'd wake up busted the next morning because I'd be like on 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
I get home at 4 in the morning, have to be up at 6, downtown at work, opening up for like 8 a.m. in the store at 8. It was rough. So after a few of those nights, I was like, no, thank you. It's time to do this full time. I cannot juggle all of this. So it was like a couple of hours of sleep that I was on, and I was like, that's it. So yes, at 19, they actually what my manager did is send me out to Japan for 2 months.
What?
Yeah. Send me out for Japan, get some experience.
Hotel gigs.
Like a 5-set, 50 minutes. Like I really got put through the
5
grinder. I was
sets.
young, and I was like, boom, go out there and the only singer.
Best school.
Yeah.
Best
but
school.
I was tired when I came. I
6
was
nights?
like,
5.
6 nights, 6 nights a week,
Yeah.
5 sets a night, all by myself.
Oh my gosh.
50 minutes. So that was my experience. I was like,
I would cry
Okay.
when it was 4:45s. I can't imagine 5:50s.
I'm like one of those people. Give me anything, and I will do it. If I can learn from something, I was like at that time. Like I said, I was a sponge. I was like,
Right.
sure, send me. Sure, I'll do it. Let's go. Let's
I
go.
mean-
Get a band together. That's where I met Max Anceloni. He was the band.
was
He
in
was in the
Japan.
band.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, 5 sets of 50 minutes a night for like 2 months. It was like hardcore, like it was what do you call it? Boot camp for singers.
Yeah.
I was like,
Really?
oh my gosh.
Grinding
Yeah.
your teeth, man. That's
Yes.
like, oof.
And so when I came back, I was like, I'm ready. Let's go. Give me whatever. So I was like, you ready?
I mean, you're pretty young at that point.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, if you can remember, what kind of an impact did that have on, like, your mental health, your physical health? How were you doing at that time?
I was great.
Yeah.
I felt like I could take on, this youth, right? You're like,
Right.
man, give me anything. I got this. Got this.
Right.
I felt like I could take on anything. I was just absorbing everything, everything I possibly could. Like when I came back, I was exhausted. I slept for about 2 weeks recovering. But yeah, it was amazing experience. I had so much fun.
How does that happen to go from instead of actually starting in clubs in Montreal? So it's kind of weird. You had this trajectory where you didn't have a lot of live experience. You were already at a young age, before you were 19, picked up by a manager to actually start to write and to do stuff. Nobody knows who you are yet, but there are few choice people that recognize the talent and went, yeah, we want that.
Yeah.
And then go on to being 19, already being shipped to Japan to perform in hotels, to grind your teeth, and to really, really hone in on your craft, your live performance craft. So that explains a lot. When I would see you at Jello Bar, and I had never seen you before, but you seemed so seasoned. But I was like, how? How is she so seasoned when I don't even know who this person is?
Yeah, that's why. I mean, that was like boot camp for singers and musicians, because those guys, it was crazy. And I don't have parents in the business, right?
Right.
Difference between Ricky, he had some guidance. I didn't have any of it, so I just came out like, okay. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
Right.
Did you have someone then that you did trust or could turn to for advice, a mentor of some kind?
No.
No?
Nobody at all. So when I signed my contract, I was going into it blindly. It was a nightmare. Luckily, I signed a contract because the manager and label were one, and that's a conflict of interest, folks. So that's how I got out, because they signed me to a 10-year deal. Yeah. And so I got out. But I still had to spend money and go see lawyers, and even these lawyers taking money from me. It was like going blindly. And so it was a hard lesson, but a great lesson, because then I started to get some serious edge. And then my personality started to change, and I was like, I'm not gonna be so nice anymore.
Oh,
Like
no.
this is me putting up a wall, and it's okay because I needed to do that because it's time and time again it happens over and over with artists where we get
Of course. Of course,
Right.
you have to question everything after that. And so you don't believe that everybody's intention is actually true.
correct.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a...
And I'm a loyal person, and I was very trusting.
Right.
And yeah, I've got burnt a few more times after that, and then learned that nope, that's not gonna happen, never again.
So you come back from Japan and you start playing in clubs right away.
Yes,
So you're right back into the club scene.
right back into the club.
After
scene.
sleeping for 2 weeks, of course.
Correct. And then it became this bullfrog, the Public Enema Bullfrog
Right.
collective, and it was an incredible collective. We were all from different backgrounds, coming together with our own personalities, our own musical influences, and this band just blew up.
Sure.
We started playing like places on Saint Laurent and booked everywhere and booked went to Toronto, Ottawa, started playing festivals, and like it was a big deal. Like we had like label interest in the whole bit. But I wasn't running it, so we were just part of this collective.
Right.
But yeah, we got real busy. That band was like the hottest ticket in town. We'd play and places would be packed. We started with like a few people, and just saw like the growth of this
Sure.
thing. It was crazy, organically. So it was fun. I was a shy girl sitting on the chair, and then when I had to sing, I'd come alive and then go back and sit in my chair. It's just crazy. It's a crazy experience with that band too. So kind of came out of my shell
Right.
a little bit with the Public Enema Bullfrog band. So
So what happened after that? Was that when you started doing more the steady gigs with at Jello? Like, how did you meet Ricky was it at Jello?
way after.
Way after.
So Public Enema, Bullfrog, and then from there, I met Coco, Allen, and then we started working with Kosol and
Right.
Solo, and all of that. So
Right.
Kosol became the thing, and that was
Yes, I remember.
our baby. And Coco and I would write. Coco, myself, and Allen, and
Right.
and then I started getting asked to do like sessions in studio for these French rap groups, and come in studio, we like your voice, we want to do da-da-da-da. So started doing stuff with Dubmatique, went in
Dubmatique,
studio
yeah.
with Dubmatique, like Amique, and a whole bunch of Cat Burglars and a whole bunch of other guys, on the scene, Shades of Culture. Started working in that crew
Right.
of people, and then started touring with them.
Right.
And
You're
so-
giving me chills because you're reminding me of the Dubmatique days. I mean, you were playing with them when they were the biggest rap group in Quebec.
Yep.
Like they were doing double bills. At one point, they were doing double bills with Backstreet Boys.
Yep.
Backstreet Boys broke in Quebec.
Right.
Really?
During that tour. Yeah, nobody knew who Backstreet
They
Boys
did.
was.
It's crazy because probably all of Canada. I remember us going to Vancouver and performing for
Yes.
Prince Charles.
Right.
And it's crazy.
What a wild gig.
I know, a wild gig. So
Yeah, no, it was huge.
at the time I was going back and forth with Kosol, so doing gigs with Kosol, and then doing whenever Dubmatique would go out of town, they took us out on tour. We went out with Dubmatique and stuff, and at some point during all of this, I get a call. There's an audition for Rent, this musical, Broadway, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I know nothing about Broadway.
Or
Just
acting.
show up, or acting. Show up. So I showed up, hair crazy, out, no makeup, overalls. Show up at this audition on Mont Royal. I get the callbacks, and for Mimi. And everybody's like, oh, you look like Mimi. You're going to get it. This girl, I could hear the whispers and like,
Right.
she looks like Mimi. She looks like Mimi. So I was like, I don't even know who Mimi is. I have no
You
idea.
had no idea about Rent?
No idea what Rent
Oh my
was. I
gosh.
was not into Broadway, knew nothing about Broadway at the time. And so I passed on that.
Really?
I passed on that, but then got a call for Cirque du Soleil. They had a show coming out in Florida, and we want you to come. They were looking for like a hip hop R&B singer
Right.
to like do some improv over their entire like score.
Right.
I would call it a score of the show. And so I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go to Florida.
Now, I need to know a little bit about this. I mean, with Ricky, I went on a tangent. I'm a Cirque fan. I talked his ear off a little bit. I need to know about this experience because if I got a call from Cirque du Soleil, I'd like pee my pants or something.
Again, it's one of those things where living in Montreal, on the music scene, I had no idea who Cirque was.
Again.
What world am I living in? This is what he said to me.
I know. And I was like,
You guys were a match made in heaven. They both didn't know.
totally oblivious, right? And so, but I knew of them, but I had no idea like the
magnitude.
The magnitude.
I mean, for context, what year roughly would this have been?
this was
Like,
98, 99.
okay, so they were still like in their like I guess earlier years of
But it's
conception.
around the time where like O had just come out. That was O was their show before La Nuba.
Right.
And so I got called for La Nuba, and and one thing about me was that I was very flaky in the sense where I'd show up late for like sound checks and stuff. And I will tell you that me leaving really put like a discipline. They're like, you go to Cirque, you got to be on time.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
punching in the card every day. You're in a building. You can't just walk out of your like contracts and stuff. And so it really gave me a discipline. And
This was the show in Vegas, right?
no, this
No,
was in
this was-
Florida. It was a
Okay, it was
permanent show,
permanent show in Florida.
downtown Disney.
Okay.
This beautiful, like, it looked like a tent, but it was a building. Beautiful. And so I thought they were gonna send me home like 2 weeks in, because I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like, I was like, wow, this is so different. Like,
Imposter syndrome. We were
Yeah,
talking about
this,
that.
as well as a running theme with everyone we talk about, no matter if they're in the early years of their career, if they've been in it for 40, 50 plus years.
right,
Everyone seems to have moments
right,
where they're going, why me?
right.
Why am I the one here?
I always, and I was sitting there going like, oh my gosh, they're gonna send me home like 2 weeks in. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Like, I don't even I don't know, right?
Right.
And so then when we started and we premiered the show, it just kind of came together. They're like, you're the perfect fit for the show. And then when the other singer would go out, I would do an opera part for him. And it's so, I was like, I realized like my diversity, even within, again, the experiences, I'm growing and growing and
Right.
growing. And another part of me is getting this performance from it, right? Because
Right.
everything was with the hands. Usually I'm holding a mic, and then it became this singing like this, and like an actress on stage. I was performing, right? I was like, oh, okay, like I'm growing.
School.
So yeah, it was school. Everything was school. Every single step of my career was a learning experience in the best way possible. Even that negative stuff, I'm like, yeah, you have to get burnt to learn what not to do. Right. And just to pass on that knowledge, because a lot of people don't know. I didn't have that knowledge. So it's like, every single step of the way, I'm blessed because it's growth, growth, growth. And just to get better and stronger and keep honing my craft, So,
Now, just to touch really quickly on that like anxiety that you were having, would you say that it was more based around like questioning your own abilities? Or does it come back to kind of like you said, oh, like I'm sometimes coming in late, like maybe I'm just like my work ethic isn't the best fit? Like, what was causing that anxiety?
I feel like one thing about me as young Dessy is that I was always very secure in my own skin. I've always been supportive to other singers. I always lifting other singers up, or like, Coco and I would just pass the buck. So she'd kick ass, I'd be like, I'm gonna kick ass now. So like it was like
Friendly competition.
and I wouldn't even say it was competition. There wasn't any envy behind that. It was just a support system. It was just like, I always felt like I needed my fellow singers like as crutches.
Right. Sure.
Right. But I was very secure in my talent. I just felt like it was such a big show, such a grandiose thing that I had never been part of. And that's where I didn't see myself fitting in that context. Because I was like, it's so different. Like, it's so different. I was like, how am I going to fit in this? Like, how does my voice lend a hand to this show? Because there weren't many Black artists in the Cirque camps. And so I was like, R&B background, like, how am I going to fit visually and sound-wise in this show? It was so different musically. And I was like, but it, like, I made that score my own. So now, people, when they hear the La Nuba original soundtrack, they're like, we couldn't hear it without your voice. Like, it's you, so yeah.
I love that you said that you like lean on other women. I myself, like I was always kind of in the metal and the rock scene.
Right.
There were very few of us.
Right.
And I found what would happen, unfortunately, was that when there was another woman in a lead front kind of position, it became like a toxic competition.
Yeah.
Which I never understood.
Right.
I felt like if we kind of band together, we're creating more space for one another.
And that's my point. Like, we're stronger together, right?
Yeah.
The support system, LA is a whole other beast we'll have a conversation about, but it's really cutthroat there.
Yeah.
And I feel like people compete. And I'm like, I'm not about that life. Like, I'm not about to get up on stage and just like 2 minutes of like throwing up vocally because I have to outdo that girl so I could get these kicks. I do what I do. I've always been that person where this is my sound. It's either you love it or hate it. If you like it, great. If you don't, let's keep it moving. I have no problems with that, right? So I just feel like, there are a few of my circle now and community where we really support one another and we lift each other up because it's so hard. It's so cutthroat. It's still male dominated. It's still like, hi, look at me, like the opportunities. Ricky will get opportunities. And if I stand in for those same opportunities, it won't happen because it's hard. It's just really, really hard. Our voices aren't heard even now. It's really difficult.
Yeah, because that was a mentality that I always kind of had. I think it was Tina Fey who had said the only reason that women aren't running the world is because we're too busy fighting against each other.
Right.
And I love the idea of, having these trials and errors, gaining that knowledge, and then being able to pass it down to someone else and just, like I said, make more room for all of us.
I always say if I had like money to start my own label, I would give those young girls an opportunity to like, I'm not strictly young women, but because it was so hard for me in the industry. And the one thing I did not take is any mess. I'm really proud of myself for this because I don't feel like I was propositioned in that way in the industry. It's, it always happens.
Yep.
But I didn't stand for any of it. I was really strong. At a young age, I was like, no, I'm determined. People saw the determination. I think they saw me as a little sister more than anything else in the industry. But all this to say, like, if I had the capability of starting a label, I would, give my sisters and uplift my sisters. I have no problem with sharing the stage. We all have something different to present.
Yep.
We're not competing. Everybody is different. Everybody has their lane. And everybody has something different to say from one another. We're not the same. So it's like, yeah, it's okay.
Was that an advantage to probably have a significant other in your life that maybe kept people away from maybe propositioning you for certain things? Because you were public about it.
Yes. It's so funny. I just had this conversation. So in Montreal, I feel like I was very protected. I was very sheltered on the scene. In LA, it became something different. We'd go to meetings and, you'd have men sitting there and they'd actually look at Ricky and say, "Oh, she's married. It's a good thing she's married. It's a good thing she's married." And keep repeating it in interviews. I'd be like, Ricky. So I was like, so people won't mess with you or even deal with you business-wise because you're married.
I hate that.
So it becomes something different, right? It's like we can't hit on her. So it's either hit on you or, if we can't even cross that line, we're not even going to deal with this. So it became something different, right? As a married couple. Like,
yeah.
I can't even tell you how many times Ricky and I sitting in a meeting and hearing this stuff and like, your wife is really beautiful, I was like,
icky.
Why?
Why is that?
Why is this even a thing when we're trying to get a label interest or whatever? Anyways,
about our music, about our art.
I just feel like maybe because he's so present and him and I were working together and creating music together and he'd always be there, that they know like, we can't,
Sure.
we can't.
So it's a double-edged sword.
It is. It's so weird. It's so weird because I was like, it's really good because I'm not going to lie to people and tell them I'm not married. I'm happily married.
Sure. I'm
blessed. We're a couple that work together and get along together in this industry. What a blessing. So, because, I know a lot of people keep that because they're like, well, success is different. And I was like, I don't care about that. I'm happy in my skin. I'm happy in what I'm presenting. And I just want to be honest about my life and who I work with. I work with my husband. I'm so proud of that. So, yeah.
Speaking of which, your husband, you guys were quite the team. So you not only met as musicians playing in clubs, then the decision was made, okay, we need to like move out of here and to do something like on a different level.
Right.
What was the inspiration to move? Was it the initial gig when you did Cirque du Soleil?
So when I moved back from Cirque, I had a little stint I did in Indonesia, and then I came back to Montreal, moved back, and I met Ricky, summer of 2003, 4. And so immediately, it was immediate. The connection was strong. We started working together immediately, writing music.
Right.
It just, the link was just perfect. Right. And so fast forward maybe like a year later, we got the call to do Cirque du Soleil, another touring show.
Together?
How awesome, both
Together,
of them.
yeah.
How awesome is that
Yes.
to get a call?
Yeah.
And what are the chances?
I know. It's so crazy because I'm so connected with Cirque people. And when we were doing our original shows at Le Petit Medley on St. Hubert, I invited some Cirque artistic directors and creators. And it's so funny because I have what do you call it, seniority in the company, right? So but they were looking at Ricky, and they were looking at Ricky to be the MD for the show. And I was like, well, I mean, hello. I'm like, all of y'all come out, you see the show, it's like MD for the show. So he's probably one of the youngest MDs that ever got hired by Cirque.
That's right.
And then they were like, oh, well, we could get Dessy to get to be one of the singers in the show.
Oh, yeah.
You invited them, and you were an afterthought.
I know, it was an afterthought. It's crazy how that happened. I was like, well, I mean,
maybe it was just assumed you were already going to be involved.
maybe, I don't know. But I really think like they had their eye on Ricky, and it worked out perfectly. And so when, we had been traveling North America, Europe. And so when we came back, we're like...
So traveling, just to let people know. So this was the Cirque traveling show.
Correct.
So this was,
This was Delirium.
Yeah.
And, when we released our first EP prior to, leaving with Cirque, I grew up in English. I speak French fluently, but I grew up in English. English is my first language, so, it's tough in Quebec. So I looked at Ricky, and this was a conversation, one of the first conversations we had. I said, we're competing with Toronto. Toronto won't let us in. We did the jazz festival in 2004. I was like, great, but what's next? Like, do we just sit here and create music and play clubs and make a great living, or do we go somewhere? Do we take it somewhere? And him and I were on the same page. We're like, you know what? Let's go. It just organically happened. Right. We didn't have this long drawn out conversation about moving. It just happened. And we're like, okay, let's go. Let's go. Nothing to lose. Let's go. And so that's how it all started. And so I finished my contract. I was still out with Cirque. Ricky had flown to LA already. And when I flew into LA, 3 weeks later, he got a call from Madonna. And that was it. It was a wrap.
That didn't take long.
I know,
when
great.
people say, move to LA, this is where all the connections are. Should I? 3 weeks later.
Well, I mean, we were lucky because Ricky, with the Cirque du Soleil Delirium show, Ricky had hired Philip Fisher from Fishbone.
From Fishbone, yeah.
And so on drums, and he's slayed. And so Fish used to play with Justin Timberlake. And when he heard that Kevin Antunes was looking for someone from Madonna's band, Ricky had to have been one of the very few accordion players. So what gave him that extra edge was the accordion. Wow. And you see this young, good-looking black dude all in hip-hop gear playing accordion. You're like,
sold.
So, because I know he's playing keys for her now.
Yeah.
But did he get signed on to do keys and accordion, or accordion?
Keys and accordion.
Okay.
So, and he's been playing throughout his entire run with her and touring and stuff. He's been playing accordion on every single tour. So, yeah. So it's piano, keys. He played conga last tour with her. So it's
really?
Yeah. So whenever she has these little acoustic breakdowns and stuff, she'll have him do some other stuff. It's really cool. So crazy.
You can do it.
When she goes out, she goes out.
So you guys are fully separate for 6 months.
Yeah, and then but I travel. I go see him a lot. So that was great. But yeah, and then when he got off tour, that's when we went hardcore into the project. Kind of shifted with our sound. We developed this new neo-ragtime speakeasy soul crazy concept of swing meets hip hop, and that became something else and started blowing up and stuff. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, Parlor Social Club was a huge project for you.
Yeah, Parlor Social was yeah.
And you guys really put everything into that project.
Yes.
Your energy, your time, all of the writing that you guys did together obviously got you a lot of attention. The show got you a lot of attention. The EP, Say Hep Hep, nominated 2015 for the Independent Awards. And that alone, that starts to give you a little bit of okay,
yeah,
we're on the right.
Yeah.
We're on the right page here.
Yeah. A lot of work, though. A lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of money. Because, we were investing in our project. So, yeah, it's crazy. We just developed this sound. And then Morris Hayes from the NPG, he's an angel. He mentored Ricky before I got there, before I got to LA. He told Ricky, if you guys do this, go in hardcore. The look, the branding, the concept, you have to hone it
go
100.
big or go home.
Exactly. And so we did the whole dressing and the tap dancers, and it was a whole thing.
You are officially a brand.
Correct. And so we started playing like grand performances, and like it's crazy. We've done a lot, like, and yet it didn't quite get to the point where we wanted to, like, because a lot of people told us like it's either this band is gonna blow up,
Right.
to the point where it's gonna be so huge because it's so unique,
Right.
or get tossed to the side, and it's this amazing project that maybe down sometime later on in life people will discover, and it'll reignite. Like, we got attention, but we live in an era of music where it's like nobody is going to come in unless you have crazy numbers. It's all a numbers game now. Social media, if your numbers are not insane, forget it.
But I mean, you were like, it was with this band that you
Right.
played the 40th anniversary, like, Playboy Jazz Festival.
I know.
That's a huge gig.
Yes, it was. Actually, we didn't expect that because the year before, I had been singing background vocals for Miles Mosley, who's with the West Coast Get now in Kamasi, Washington. And I'm on stage and saying, like, I just had this thought. Next year, it's going to be us.
Yeah.
And
it was
It was.
20,000 people.
it was crazy.
George
And-
Lopez giving
Yeah.
shout outs.
I know, it's crazy. And so 2015, 2016 was a huge year for Parlor Social. 2015, I got, because before changing to Parlor Social, I was still under Dessy Di Lauro, but it was still Ricky and I, creating everything together. I got a feature in Essence magazine, New and Next, OK Player, Revive
on.
magazine
Come on.
on Perez Hilton.
Free
we did
press.
Pop Sugar. We did like a lot of stuff. Soulbound, Soul Tracks. Like, there was a lot of stuff going on.
Amazing.
Essence, another Essence thing that we did. We did the Brick Jazz Festival. Like, it was crazy. 2015 was nuts. And then Ricky went on tour because financially we couldn't sustain ourselves. We're putting all the money into our project, and so we couldn't sustain. And so he went out. We also put a production show in Vegas together for 4 days, and that was a whole other beast.
It was a whole musical.
Yes, and it was
Like,
crazy.
You guys didn't want to like stop at just the band. You're like, let's do a musical.
And it was successful. The only thing
It
about
was.
that is that, like, you need money and investment to put that on full time. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it just kind of fizzled out after that, and then we reconvened in 2018. We got Montreal Jazz Festival, Playboy Jazz Festival, and we're like, okay, another shot at it in 2019, and we're doing some really good stuff in 2019, and now we're kind of like, let's not avidly push Parlor Social.
Right. And the pressures, the financial pressures, was that one of the reasons, or was it just inspiration, lack of thereof?
Financial pressures was a huge thing, and then that becomes, because we're a couple too, then that becomes a thing with the couple. And I was like, we never used to argue before, and then it's like this constant bickering and like disagreements, and even musically, like, it became something else, and we're like, let's just like kind of like, we need to like live and want to eat and do stuff. Like, we can't solely keep forking out money and putting money into this project if we're not getting a return. It's ridiculous, right? So I was like, that was the thing for us. And then right before the pandemic hit, when Ricky came back from tour, we're like, listen, what are we gonna do with this? Like, what do we do? Because we've created some amazingness, and what do we do? It was heartbreaking. It was like,
The 2020 hits, and then the pandemic.
yeah,
So everything shuts
and
down.
then I was like,
Great time to think.
to think and reinvent ourselves too.
I think, if I recollect properly, I mean, you had just said that the band was originally named after yourself.
Yeah.
And I believe that Ricky had made a comment that he thinks that perhaps you were more successful as a band when you were the star of the show?
I think so, because somebody gave us the advice to change the name. Mm-hmm. And I was like, even though it's under my name, it's always him and I.
Right.
And it's always featuring Ricky Pajot. That never changed, right? And so I think when we made the change too, that didn't help, because people were like, who the hell is, who Parlor Social? Like, what's this new name?
Sure.
Like, why?
Right.
And so we listened to somebody that gave us this advice, and he thought it was a good idea, and it was not a good idea, because that took time for us. It's a kind of like you're rebuilding again, right? Rebranding, rebuilding.
Starting from
and
scratch.
that was a whole other thing. So I was like, oh gosh, it's like, so I was like, okay. And so we just kind of had to sit there and look at ourselves and be totally honest and say, look, do we want to keep bickering and arguing over everything of this project and keep forking money, dropping all this money into this project with no returns, and no support, because we needed the support. And we're still performing with Parlor Social, but we're not avidly pushing Parlor Social.
Right.
We're not sitting there writing tunes and coming up with a new album in the works. That's not happening. But we still get booked, you know what I'm
Because the
saying?
website's still there.
Website's still there. People still book us. We just did Indianapolis, 2 sold out shows in Indianapolis. So it's like when you have moments like this, you're like,
we're back.
People are rediscovering the music again, and it's so
That's true.
and then we're like, okay. And then we did the Newport Beach Jazz Festival in LA. And so people are still interested in booking us. And I'm like, we're still going to work. We're still going to perform. We're still a band.
Right.
Whenever people want the band. But we're avidly pushing our careers now. So now Ricky's working on his stuff and I'm working on my stuff. So, yeah.
So you working on your stuff. What does that look like?
So, this is crazy. This project is people ain't ready. I'm not even saying this
Well, you have to say it.
Are you allowed to say it?
I am allowed to
Okay.
say it. So the lyrics are really powerful, but musically it became this lo-fi, Afro-Brazilian, Afro-Cuban, tribal, tropical, R&B, hip-hop, Caribbean
Oh, boy.
Vibe.
Started producing stuff, started creating stuff. The arrangements are all me, musically, lyrically. I just grabbed hold of this career, and then Ricky and I have been totally supportive to one another. But again, I had to mourn and grieve. And, Ricky started working on his thing first, so I was kind of like... So I was like, oh, already? Okay. Oh, you're moving on already. You're doing your stuff already. I was like, oh, how nice. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So I just had to figure stuff out, right? I was like in a place of grieving. And so when he started working his with the whole Black composers and docuseries and all this incredible stuff he's doing, I was like, okay, it's time I take hold of my career, take back my career.
Not waiting on anybody anymore.
Not waiting on anybody, do everything myself. I have full control, and I'm enjoying every single process.
Awesome.
Everything.
As you should.
From makeup to... I do my own photo shoots. I do my own graphic content. I do everything. And I am loving it. The conceptual parts of the videos, all me. Everything has intention behind it. And I love it. I love what's coming. What's coming conceptually, visually, is going to be bananas. I want the music to stand out and speak for itself.
Sure.
So I want the melodies to be really strong, the lyrics to be really strong, the harmonies to be really strong. But I have this concept right now, less is more.
Right.
But for the live show, that's when it's going to come alive.
Do you have an approximate date as to when this might drop?
It's so funny because Ricky keeps telling me stop putting dates on stuff. because I don't have a timeline right now.
Sure.
So I kept releasing stuff, and I'm done releasing singles for now. So now I'm working on the full album. I am looking to get live performances going in the fall. I need to start performing
Right.
for the fall. If I could get a date booked in August and do like an acoustic show.
Right.
But for what I'm looking at, fall, I'm putting a 3-piece song live, well, recorded live, but it's not going to be live streamed. It's going to be recorded live.
Yes.
And then I want to put these 3 songs up online.
Right.
And
That's in August?
I'm doing this September, October.
Oh, September.
And maybe she can come here
Yes.
to do it.
I'd love to. I'd love to do a little something.
Now you got me all curious.
I don't want to talk more about it. When I show people the visuals of what I'm talking about, they're like, oh, okay. And, make it an artistic
Sure.
thing and, some dancing, but it's going to be really different dancing. It's, yeah.
So now that you are in your own little bubble, creating your art,
Yes.
has that reconnected you and Ricky? Because at one point you said the pressures of Parlor Social
Yes.
was kind of getting in the way of your private life.
Yes.
And so how has that changed now?
I mean, it's, he'll ask me for my opinion. I ask him for his opinion. It's easy. We enjoy each other's company a lot more. There's no stress of having to book, having to do this, having to do that. Like, it was constant. So where I pull back a little bit, because I like a little bit more of a life, and I'm a little bit lazier than Ricky when it comes to music-wise. He was constant with the project. Right. And sometimes I'd have to be like, dude, chill. You gotta chill. Like, we can't.
Need to breathe.
Right.
We cannot do this.
It's
like,
stressing you out.
yeah. And so, but also himself, and it was a lot. And so the minute, I feel like the minute I started doing my stuff as well, he felt like he could breathe. And there was like this weight lifted, like, okay, she's gonna be all right. She's doing this. And, I also have another side project as well, too.
Of course.
With my projects, my hair and natural skin products and hair and stuff. So we started that during the pandemic too. So that became something. And so because he saw that I was like avidly taking back my career and
Your life.
yeah, and I could tell like that was a weight that was lifted off of him as well. And so like we really enjoy our time. Like I never used to like hiking. And probably because I was so tired of like the grind and the hustle, right? And now I'm like, let's go hiking. He's like, who are you?
Right.
He's like, who are
Sure.
you? We enjoy our time. We're
Sure.
starting to do stuff and like, a little morning coffees in the morning. It's just like, it's always us. We're always super close, and that's my guy.
You are going to see when we release our interview with Ricky.
Right.
I made a point to, mention it, that every time that your name was brought up, it was just a huge smile across his face. So, despite maybe, some of the tensions that you might have gone
Yeah.
through with the
And
band, that guy loves you.
And I will that's my soulmate. That's I don't want to get, now you're going to have me get emotional, but yeah. Yeah. The friction was nothing in
Yeah.
comparison. It was easy. That's not friction. Like the type of fighting we do in comparison to other people is
Yeah.
not even fighting. It's like, yeah, it's easy. So we're very blessed. We're very blessed to have that like connection and super connection. But it's like, it's so good now. I'm like, the lack of like pressure to like, we got to work, we got to eat, we got to keep like, I'm so happy that I could see him. The elation, right?
Sure.
He's doing stuff he loves.
Sure.
I'm doing stuff. We love Parlor Social. It's just that all the pressure was like in this one thing. We're like, we got to push this and push this wholeheartedly and like call this person, call that person, book this date. It was a lot of work. So
I think that a lot of even like a lot of like the smaller up and coming artists can really relate to that stress of wanting to create and be artistic, but also needing to manage your career and all the bookings and all of the marketing.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yes.
On
it
your
is.
shoulders.
It is. And we didn't have no booking agent, no management, no label. Like
You're self-producing. When you're self-producing this whole thing and you're a couple, at one point there has to be some type of divide where you can find a sense of self again.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can remember, who's Dessy? And Ricky can go, who's Ricky?
Yeah.
Because you're so busy
Yeah.
doing things for a purpose, whether it would be a project that you're working on.
Yeah.
Ricky is doing something for Madonna or any other, huge artist that he'd be playing for. A lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But where's the sense of self? Why are we doing this? Why did we first get into it? And now that you're able to like have that space, this is where you can reconnect.
We're in a good place. We're in a really good place right now.
awesome to hear.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm excited for everything he's doing right now because people ain't ready with that. That's like a
Right.
whole other thing that's like necessary and so important. And I'm so proud of him because he's really dedicated himself to this, like telling these stories, these lost stories of these Black composers. Really powerful stuff. Like I can't wait for people to discover that whole thing with him.
You're both each other's best cheerleader.
Yes.
And are there any other people in your life that have that type of support, that have your back?
I will say that I have a really good friend of mine. She sings background vocals for Justin Timberlake. She's in I take her in studio with me because she's my cheerleader.
Right.
And so Xenia lives right across from us. She moved into our complex a year ago, and since then we've like we're each other's like go 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 go. So like she'll come in and she'll arrange my background vocals and we'll do background vocals together, and it's a really good synchronicity. And so she introduced me to her producer KC, who does a lot of the Caribbean stuff, and Michelle Montano.
Oh, amazing. Perfect fit.
Summer Walker, like he's really like he's from Trinidad, so he's a Trini guy living in LA. So culturally, I was like drawn to him musically already, and it's like, so it's a great little team that we've got, and so like it's so much fun. So she's my cheerleader. It's hard to find that. I hope one day in the next 5 years or less that I will be put in a position to sign artists. I want to put artists on the map. I want to be that person that's going to be like, I see you. I see this vision. We're going to work on artist development because I feel like that's necessary. It's still something that's necessary, and not throw you to the wolves, and really work on strong music material that's good and people feel. I feel like a lot of people want to get back to this place, and this is the other reason why I wanted to do what I'm doing now, because I feel like people are hungry for like
Art.
What is a priority for you to be able to like create these moments that are just exciting for 30 seconds or a minute, or an actual whole story that people will actually sit down and take the time to listen to?
When I get told like, you should put this like funny little thing. No, it's stupid. That is stupid. I don't do stupid. No, I don't do stupid. Like I don't do like shock value. I do shock value in what I say because I have a lot of like opinions on stuff and what's going on in the world. I'm going to say it, right? Yeah. And I'm going to push certain things that I'm highly passionate about and the topics that I'm passionate about. And I don't care about that. But when it comes to like, oh, because this is trendy, you should post this and follow the trend and do this. I'm like, I'm not about that life. It's all good for somebody else. You could do that, but this is not what I'm selling. So,
well, you connecting with people is what you're doing right here, and we're so happy that we had the chance to actually connect.
Thank you.
And I hope that people are going to be more than excited about this new project.
Thank you.
Not to forget about what else you're doing. Parlor Social is still out there, still available for gigs.
Yes.
Book them now.
I know. We're still working. We're
Still working.
Yes.
But this new project is something that's really, really exciting. And we're super inspired by your story. And I'm glad that you were able to like talk to us almost first about it.
Thank you for the amazing conversation. You guys asked some incredible questions. You like bringing me back. I had to think about
Who am I?
Who am I? What have I done? Okay.
Well, we know who you are. And if anybody else didn't know who you were, they're going to find out. Thank you so much, Dessy.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And that's it for today. Catch you again on Basebin TV. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh.